Once upon a time, not very long ago, if you wanted to order in a meal you were generally limited in your choice of options and restaurants. It may seem difficult to remember, or even believe, but once upon a time if you wanted to order food from a restaurant to your house, you were generally given two choices, pizza or Chinese food. And if you didn't like either option, it was generally pretty difficult to find many restaurants that offered delivery services. Well, that has all changed here in 2020. You can practically get anything delivered, whether it's Starbucks coffee, a donut from Dunkin' Donuts, or is it just Dunkin' now, or a Big Mac from McDonald's. These delivery services have changed the game and upended our eating habits. But is their meteoric rise an effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, or will food delivery continue to grow once the pandemic has subsided? Right now, the biggest food delivery services are DoorDash, Uber Eats, which recently acquired PostMates, and GrubHub. Between these three companies, they own an astonishing 99% of the food delivery market. And looking at this chart, we can see their meteoric rise, particularly in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But these food delivery apps and services face a myriad of daunting logistical and ethical dilemmas which may upend their offerings. We are going to look into the challenges these companies face and their outlook past 2020. Food delivery is not a new concept. As stated above, food delivery in the United States was primarily operated within the confines of individual businesses. And while the majority of businesses which offered food delivery were pizza and Chinese restaurants, there has always been a need to expand this list. As Tony Xu, the founder of DoorDash, explained on NPR's podcast How I Built This, linked below, when talking to local restaurants and small businesses, the number one issue they all conceded was how to get their goods and services to a larger audience. Tony and his partners believed and understood that they could use technology to connect customers to drivers, who would deliver meals in every imaginable cuisine. And while food delivery isn't a new or novel idea, it is a costly and difficult one to implement. For individual restaurants, this means hiring drivers, receiving customer orders, handling payment, and ensuring the driver arrives to the correct address in a timely manner. While restaurants are adept at handling orders and payment, hiring and retaining drivers who are both professional and time-conscious can be a daunting task. What DoorDash, GrubHub, and Uber Eats have been able to do so efficiently is remove the need for logistics. That is, they are able to handle all the logistical challenges a restaurant would face in delivering a food item, without ever having to lift a finger. This is done by connecting restaurants and customers with a driver, already available and nearby. While the idea isn't novel, the capabilities are truly unique and one that can only be done in the 21st century with the use of modern technology and smartphones. But on top of that, what DoorDash and Uber Eats also provide to a restaurant is excellent marketing and branding. While you can easily Google or Yelp new restaurants, both DoorDash and Uber Eats show you a variety of restaurants available to you with a click of a button. That is, the services are excellent marketers for new and established restaurants that take advantage of the phenomenon of convenience. The phenomenon of convenience. This is a term we like to use often to describe a unique phenomenon that may be apt for the 21st century. We, as consumers, have come to expect convenience and options at nearly any time and hour of the day. And we, as consumers, are willing to pay for this premium so long as we receive the convenience we've come to expect. So, if DoorDash, Uber Eats, and GrubHub are able to connect restaurants with consumers and cure our itch for convenience, then how could their business model ever fail? All of this convenience and marketing and logistics costs money. And while DoorDash, Uber Eats, and GrubHub charge consumers a delivery fee, on top of other fees, they also take a whopping 30% from the restaurant. This fee is meant to offset the logistics and marketing costs which these delivery services provide. But contrary to popular belief, restaurant margins are incredibly thin. On average, the range for restaurant profit margin typically spans anywhere from 0–15%. but usually restaurants fall between a 3–5% average restaurant profit margin. Let me restate that. The average profit margin for a restaurant falls between 3 to 5%. That means that every expense is carefully, meticulously tracked, followed, and accounted for to ensure profitability. If DoorDash or Uber Eats or GrubHub reaches out to you and offers a means to deliver your food to thousands of consumers in your area, it can be a tempting proposition. But you are then faced with a 30% fee on top of all orders placed through the service. So, what is any smart, business-minded owner to do? I mean, obviously they will have to raise their rates to accommodate this increase. And typically, the increase will match the 30% that they are charged, essentially passing the fee to the consumer. Another major inhibitor to growth and profitability for these delivery services is the absolute need for a motivated, present, and ultimately reliable workforce. That is, that although DoorDash, Uber Eats, and GrubHub have been able to build out a network of restaurants and a system to handle receiving customer orders, these transactions come to a screeching halt if there is no driver to complete the orders. And while this issue is slightly curtailed during the pandemic, where unemployment is high and the need for quick work is in demand, this trend can be quickly spurned once the unemployment rate decreases and more individuals return to non-gig work-related jobs. So, how are DoorDash, Uber Eats, and GrubHub meant to compete? I mean, really the only practical way is to offer a more competitive system of pay. As of this writing, after factoring in gas, mileage, wear and tear on the vehicle, and taxes, delivery drivers average just $2 an hour. Yes, you read that right, just $2 an hour after factoring in these expenses. So, while the pay may seem appealing on the app, oftentimes in excess of $17 an hour, the true pay rate after expenses and taxes is generally between $1 to $5. With such a low wage, it is no wonder that one of the biggest fears and difficulties for these delivery services is the need for motivated, present, and reliable workforce. And unless the pay is dramatically increased, we can expect to see an exodus of drivers once the economy fully rebounds and drivers return to more traditional roles. Let's not forget that while DoorDash, Uber Eats, and GrubHub have their own internal dilemmas and issues related to their core services, there is the ever-increasing threat of legal regulation. While these companies barely succeeded in having the recent Proposition 22 ballot measure passed in California, there is no guarantee that additional regulations aren't on their way. With Proposition 22, the ballot measure called for classifying app-based drivers as independent contractors, instead of employees, and while this measure was passed with more than 58% of total voters, it cost Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, and PostMates over $205 million in campaigning to support the proposition. This definitely isn't a sustainable business model and one that will require significant capital moving forward. While we're definitely not psychics and cannot tell the future, moving forward we see the food delivery space continuing to consolidate. The space is, ultimately, too competitive and the obstacles simply too large to summit without a sizable investment and capital expenditure. However, although there are many challenges to the business model, for better or worse the service provided is simply not one that will disappear overnight. Ultimately, restaurants, small businesses, consumers, and even drivers have grown accustomed to this new form of service. While expansion may be difficult, costly, and cumbersome, there is a proven track record and demand for the services provided. Do you use food delivery services? What's your favorite food delivery service?